now with live streaming. I'm just beginning to learn it, but my understanding is that this will live stream on my Facebook page, on YouTube, on Periscope, and on other sites. So, it's amazing what we can do now as citizens, especially in these times when we're all shut in due to fear of the virus, and rightfully, I might add. Um, I'm following liberal media, well, mainstream leaning liberal media, and I'm seeing what I would describe as beyond legitimate criticism in a time of essential war. This is an invasion of this country by an unknown, an invisible enemy. In this case, it happens to be environmental as opposed to military, at least as far as we know. They're putting aside the question of whether or not we're looking at a biological weapon, which we might. I don't know that. I'm not in a position to know it. I'm looking into it, and I'm going to be doing some programming on that in coming days. But in the meantime, biological weapon or otherwise, it is an enemy that is invading the United States, and it has caused us to enter into a position of extreme defense. Excuse me, I'm okay. With regard to our personal safety. And I think at a time like this, we look to our government and our federal government in particular for leadership. And if the government lacks the necessary tools, or if we disagree with it, those tools, then our criticism is and should be legitimate and careful under the circumstances. It was like in the middle of World War II, in the middle of World War I, in the middle of the War of 1812, for that matter. You have to be careful and try to criticize government action while at the same time maintaining your position as the loyal opposition, because we don't want to undermine the government at a time like this. We want our government, even if it's acting in a flawed manner, to nevertheless perform its function of defending us, and of putting forth a program. And if it's falling short in terms of how to implement it, then we should give constructive criticism, make reasonable suggestions publicly. Dear Mr. President, please do X, Y, and Z, and build public pressure. But that's not what the media is doing. There's so many, again, not all, but they're so locked into this cult-like Trump derangement syndrome that they're taking pot shots and just real cheap shots at the administration. And the effect is that it undermines and hinders the ability of our government to function. And I will say, to their credit, some of the Democratic governors, including Andrew Cuomo of New York and Governor Hogan of Maryland and Governor Murphy of New Jersey, they have been, while they are partisan Democrats for sure, they have not done this, at least not, maybe they might stray a little into it, but for the most part, they've praised the federal administration. They're working with it, and they're all on the same side in terms of confronting and combating this enemy, this insidious enemy that's taking lives and that threatens to do terrible havoc. And that's appropriate. But their actions are in spite of the goading of the liberal media, which wants them to say something against President Trump. And I mean, the tweets that I'm getting from people, I mean, oh my God. I mean, particularly what's his face, Meathead from formerly of All in the Family, Rob Reiner, with the epithet laced, vulgar, profane attacks on the president. And also Harvard professor emeritus Lawrence Tribe of the Harvard Law School, a man who was once touted as a Supreme Court judge, a possible appointee, is just, he's putting on a tin hat and engaging in the most cranky, ridiculous conspiracy theories against the president. And, these sorts of things, and I would argue the mainstream media, Morning Joe and Mika, and here in Boston, Beat the Press with Emily Rooney and them, and then this guy Stelter. They're still doing this kind of cheap shot. Oh, well, he said this on March 2nd, but on March 3rd, he changed his mind. It's just not the time for that right now. This is a time for national unity. I mean, let's engage in legitimate and appropriate criticism in the context of being instructive, of trying to improve things, of trying to work with the government to try to make things better, because we're all united as a nation right now and should be in a time of war. And when you're in a time of war, it's time to put aside that kind of crap and just focus on how to solve the problem. You can always go back to that later, and I'm sure they will. And Nancy Pelosi is really despicable. I mean, what a horrendous human being, anyways. Ripping up the State of the Union address. Now she's implying there's going to be impeachment again. I mean, this is a sick person. I mean, President Trump is right by referring to her as a sick puppy. She's in the government and she's undermining the effort of the executive branch in any way she can, and it's despicable and should be condemned. She should be kicked out of Congress for that. This is not the time for that kind of stuff. Put that aside. People are locked in their friggin' house. They're afraid to go to the supermarket because they're going to catch a dread disease, and rightfully. This isn't the time for this kind of stupid, Trump hater crap. All I can say is, we should understand. I mean, this is like criticizing Franklin Roosevelt in his confrontation of Hitler and Tojo. It's just not the time for it. You could do legitimate criticism, sure, and certainly, post-war analysis. Okay, let's take a look at how they're doing after the fact. But right now, we're in the middle of a situation here. Let's get beyond this kind of garbage and this kind of subversion and this undermining of our efforts. And let's get with the program, get on the same page, engage in legitimate criticism when appropriate, but stop this sniping. I have a lot of pet peeves I can bring up. This whole business with, he said it was a hoax. That's bullcrap. President Trump never referred to the coronavirus as a hoax. What he said, and this is so typical of them, they'll extract a word or two out of a sentence, magnify it, and put it up on the banner so that everybody can say, he said this. This is what they did with Charlottesville, which was crap. He never said he supported white supremacists. In this case, though, we're in a serious crisis right now. He said basically that the Democratic hack approach to the coronavirus was essentially a hoax. They were creating a false situation by attacking with the way they were doing it, attacking the government. And he was right about that. Now, did he get some timelines wrong? Has he made mistakes? Yes. But this isn't the time for cheap shots. This isn't the time for sniping. This is the time to show some general loyalty to our system and to our government and to our nation in a time of crisis, in a time when we are dealing with a real invasion that is affecting everyone's life and could hurt people, including, I'm speaking as for myself, and I'm sure that anyone viewing this knows as well, that they're being very seriously affected by this in many, many levels, and they know other people who are being very affected. And it's not even, we haven't even seen the worst to it yet. So let's make sure that we barrage these skunks with criticism when they do this. It's not the time for it. Let's get with the program. Anyway, so this is my live chat here at Restream. Where am I? Yeah, Restream.io, Charles Moscowitz. Check out my website, please, charlesmoscowitz.com. And be